Great. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for that introduction. It's nice to see your face, and I hope everybody's having a good day and learning a lot of new information. So in this time where we have this opportunity to just take in information and share knowledge, it's been a good day. So thank you for this opportunity. So today I'm going to be talking about, and the title of my presentation is called Simplicity Breeds Confidence, setting up a successful on-site oil analysis laboratory. So it can seem like a daunting task to set up an oil analysis laboratory, especially if you're new to oil analysis. But in today's presentation, we're going to focus on some very specific strategies that you can use to break things down into simpler portions and really make it a lot easier when you make that decision to bring oil analysis in-house. So just as Greg already gave me that nice introduction, just a little bit of information about who I am. So again, I'm Lisa Williams. I'm part of our product management team, technical solutions team at Ametek Spectro Scientific. So I've been working in the lubricant analysis industry for about the past 13 years or so. And I hold a CLS and LLA2 certifications with STLE and ICML. And then I'm also vice chair on the CS96 committee for in-service lubricant analysis. And that's been a really great opportunity to really be able to understand what a lot of these standards are and how they're being used in our field. And my background is in chemistry. So let's take a real quick look at our agenda for today, and then we will get right into it. So we're going to first take a look at who Ametek Spectro Scientific is, what we do, and where we are around the world. Then we'll go into some background regarding the statistics around oil analysis, how long oil analysis has been around, how it really has built as an important part of a reliability program. And then from there, we're going to go into how to implement on-site oil analysis and what that strategy really is. And I'm going to be speaking more in general terms in this capacity of how to bring it on site. And then we'll wrap up with a case study about a customer of ours that has done this really well and look at really behind the scenes the work that went into making sure that this was a successful venture bringing it on site. So just some general information about Ametek Spectro Scientific, who we are. So we're the global provider of oil and fluid-based predictive analytics solutions. And our customers range, and they're all around the world. They range from military, large municipal fleets, industrial solutions, like power generation, food and beverage, pharmaceutical, pulp and paper. So our global headquarters is in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, which is in northern Massachusetts. And we also have offices in Vienna and Beijing as well. So we have sales representatives that are all around the world, and they do a great job for us in representing our products. All right, so let's get into the meat of this presentation and just start with a little bit of background around oil analysis and set this stage. So oil condition monitoring has been around for 60 years or so. So our understanding of the importance of reliability continues to grow each year, really. So the industry really does continue to grow, and about 83% of equipment owners use some sort of oil analysis techniques in their facilities. So, and those who use oil analysis, about 85% are utilizing a third-party lab. So when customers were asked about things they would like to change about their oil analysis practices, they were looking for faster results and more specific instruction on what to do with those results. So those two things were at the top of the list. So this is where the idea of on-site oil analysis can really make a significant impact. So meeting the demand of the customer. So this idea of on-site oil analysis was something STLE actually predicted several years ago. So when polled, 2/3 of STLE TLT magazine readers believed that oil analysis was right on the cusp of seeing some major changes. So a lot of the comments related to on-site oil analysis, ease of use, more widespread knowledge of the practice within an organization, and having answers available within minutes instead of days. So these are some things that customers really said were important to them. So we can see some of the comments like basic analysis will occur on site. Basic analysis can be used as a screening tool on site to screen out satisfactory samples. So that's one scenario. And then another comment seen here, oil testing will be more of an on-site application with the site maintenance expert conducting the analysis. So there really can be a lot of value when that site maintenance person understands the equipment and can add that kind of detail to a report. So the bottom line, getting those results back quickly has really become increasingly important to us. So when it comes to selecting the right instrumentation, I try to break this down into 3 simple steps. And so it's clear that we want to see the results quickly so we can implement the data into our daily workflow. But it's important for us to go through the exercise of making sure we are trending the right parameters that meet our company goals. So I broke this process down into 3 steps that focus on working from the top down to align instrument selections with the overall company goals. So I have a rather broad KPI listed there on the screen. So step 1, reduce oil consumption by 25%. So let's break that down even a little bit farther. So because how are we going to do that? How are we going to reduce oil consumption by 25%? Are we going to try to extend oil drains? Are we going to sweeten the oil when necessary instead of draining the entire reservoir? Well, we can use data to help drive that decision. Okay, so that understanding that, so in this case, we'll choose instruments from each of our 3 categories, so chemistry, contamination, and wear, that are reasonable for us to perform on site and determine which of those parameters help us get there. So things like controlling the particle count, the moisture levels, additives, metal count is overall going to help us meet that goal. So I also have referenced there ICML 55.1, section 7, which is condition monitoring and lubricant analysis. And this standard actually helps us guide us on specific tests that can be performed on site. So this can be a very helpful resource in starting to build and develop that concept of oil analysis on site. So once we select the right instrument, we have to select the right software. And software these days, we have a lot to choose from. We have a lot of different options. So selecting that right software to organize and implement at the plant level is extremely important. So software needs to help employees increase their productivity and store the necessary lubrication tasks, show KPIs, and cost-cutting benefits of oil analysis so we can really justify our programs, and provide some analysis assistance if we need it. So I provided a checklist here of some things that we can go through when making that decision of making the decision of what software we want to choose. So let's go through the list. So does our software need to integrate with another CMMS program? So many times it does, so it can be linked with a certain work order. And which leads to the second question. So do we need that ability to generate work orders? And for most of us, work orders are vital to our process to meeting KPIs and tracking our success. So we really shouldn't overlook this. So we've talked a lot about KPIs so far. So it would be nice to have a program that has the ability to show charts, to show graphs, things like that, that allow us to demonstrate our KPIs. So then we need to think about what kind of analytical features and analysis tools we need on site. So how much assistance do we need with the analysis? Do we need our software to be doing most of that analysis work because we do not have the resources or the manpower? So I also want us to think about if we have any desire to have enterprise-related features. And this is kind of a newer word that we're hearing it in oil analysis, and we're going to talk about this later in the kind of the future of oil analysis lubrication in our panel later. But this term of enterprise, and I like to call it enterprise mentality of connecting different sites. So is this important? So do we want to be able to share knowledge between sites? Do we want that enterprise-related type features in our software? It can really provide some benefits and add a lot of value in the long run, especially if you have a site that has it all figured out, and they have their alarm limits figured out, and they have their processes documented well. And if you have that documented in a software and can easily share that with another site within your organization, you can get them up and running that much quicker, which nowadays is extremely helpful. So let's talk about briefly here, let's talk about setting up parameters and alarms. So I'm sure we all can appreciate from, if any of you are analysts out there, you can appreciate this question of a customer asks, what should my alarm limits be? And we know that can vary from customer to customer, from environment to environment, and it's best to get data to be able to make those kinds of decisions. But let's try to keep it simple here and provide some simple solutions that we can provide to our customers. So the OEMs may give us some recommendations, but there are some ASTM standards here that we can use as guidance to help us set the parameters of what we should be testing, and also how to set the correct alarms. So ASTM D6224, the standard practice for in-service monitoring of lubricating oil for auxiliary power plant equipment, that's a great resource. ASTM D4378, the standard practice for in-service monitoring of mineral turbine oils for steam, gas, and combined cycle turbines. That's another great one. It really gives you a list of all of the different tests that are available out there, and allows you to select the right ones. And then lastly, how to interpret that data and how to trend the data. ASTM D7669 is a great resource. It's a standard guide for practical lubricant condition data trend analysis. And that's one that I use often as well, to just help us understand how to trend that data and how to keep track of it. So then there's the third point of the most successful way that I have seen customers do this is start collecting data and looking for trends. So I have seen a number of instances where customers will gather samples on a monthly basis, and they'll start to look for changes in particle counts, they'll start to look for changes in total acid number, and then they'll trend those changes and see if there's any major changes in from month to month. So once they figure out what they need to trend, then they'll back off, and maybe they'll go to a quarterly frequency or a biannual frequency, because they know that type of change that they're looking for. So this helps them with their downtime, helps them plan their downtime if they need to, and get ahead of any failures. But the key is they had the training and the time to do this study. And that's the thing, a lot of folks don't often have the time to put into a study like this. But in my experience, the most successful programs in setting up parameters, setting up alarm limits, have gone through this exercise of knowing what they're looking for and knowing how their equipment behaves. So optimizing your investment. So let's take a couple minutes to look at this and really understand this, because I know I'm talking to a lot of folks out there that have significant oil analysis training, and you know that is vital to doing your job. And so I really want to take a look at this and take a deeper dive into why these places that bring oil analysis on site are extremely successful. And then we'll take a look at an example. So it really has to do with creating that overall culture within an organization that reliability matters. So when oil analysis is just a checklist item, the reports end up going nowhere. They end up getting put into a drawer. So it's really a matter of creating that culture of reliability matters. So organizations that are successful with this are usually participating in some sort of advanced oil analysis training specific to understanding the parameters to trend and to understand each piece of equipment, and learn how to read and write the reports. So having this knowledge paired with software that guides us through how to create an oil analysis report is extremely helpful. It's a great combination. So it allows us to quickly run samples, auto-populate reports, push those reports out to the plant for for the people who are responsible for those machines to see those reports. So, and then lastly, visually tracking results plant-wide. So understanding what our KPIs are, visually tracking those results is so important, because when we go back and we're asking for money that next year, or more money perhaps, having software that allows us to visually track those successes and hold something up and say, you know, this is what we saved just by controlling our particle count, just by bringing our ISO codes down one by one. And being able to visually show that, or showing why you need to continue to buy desk and breathers. Those are important parameters to show and justify the program. And then I'll also add, because I've experienced this in the past couple of years with our customers, is your reliability technicians like to hear it too. So they like to know that what they're doing every day isn't for nothing. So if you're able to hold that information up and say, you're doing a great job, this is what we're able to achieve with your work every day out there in the plant, that's really helpful for them and encouraging. So let's take a look at one case study, and then we'll bring things in closing here. So I want to talk about Simmons Feed. So Simmons Feed has been very successful at bringing this idea of on-site oil analysis to their plant. So there are a number of different avenues where they were able to receive immediate feedback. So this was a primary concern for them, immediate results. So their lubricant storage practices were able to be monitored, so for cleanliness and for possible cross-contamination. And they can monitor shelf life of oils and ensure additives are thoroughly mixed, thoroughly throughout the oil, or even present. I actually worked on a case one time where the manufacturer of the lubricant forgot to put additives in the lubricant. So it is a real thing. I'm sure we all have stories that are similar to that, but quality control, it's an important thing. We can also monitor shelf life of oils, ensure additives are there, and then also desk and breathers and filtration are two very important concepts for Simmons. So they wanted to be able to monitor the effectiveness of those tasks in nearly real time, so they can help their engineers quickly understand if they needed to take action. So those are two very important things. So they wanted to be able to look at particle counts, and they wanted to be able to look at moisture very quickly. So lastly, Simmons discontinued the standard one-size-fits-all approach for lab testing and developed written test slates for each of their pieces of equipment. And they also implemented this screening mentality, where they developed a screening test slate for samples, and then they developed an advanced test slate for samples. So being able to know things like when you need to run analytical ferrography based on your wear results. Very important, because if you're running analytical ferrography on every single sample, that's just not practical. So being able to set some parameters around that is very helpful to weed out the good ones and just focus on the bad ones. So just in summary, so we're really continuing to see a lot of growth in this sector, and people are really, all industries are just continuing to really start to understand the power of predictive maintenance strategies, but that rapid turnaround time and specific application and interpretation of the results is really becoming increasingly important. So recognizing different markets require different solutions. So it is important to have those initial discussions with folks to understand what their issues are. So understanding equipment criticality, test slates, KPIs, helping them set those alarm limits. But lastly, knowing what you're looking for. So understanding what your program needs, understanding the specific training that is needed to go into this really helps create that. I just want to thank everybody very much for their time today.